Okay, this is the second video for the S12. Third video will actually have some decent content, not just me talking crap. But as you can see, been working on a roll cage. So I'll open the door. So we only end up going with the one bar. I've actually come up fairly high, just below my shoulder. So we're not putting a extra bar in it because at the moment, as you see, steering wheel is not very high. It's very hard to get in and out of. We're going to have to go to a quick release steering wheel, but we've added extra bars in the roof. Tomorrow we'll be welding the rear in. Top half's painted, bottom half's not, obviously. Got extra braces and whatnot. So full chrome ollie. So obviously I had success in procuring materials. Then we've got an extra brace here. It's out of the way, which is nice. We did that deliberately because we didn't want to impede getting in and out of the car by having a brace running from further forwards to lower. So it's coming up well. We got the rear bars dropped through, so we'll have a full back seat in the car. If we ever do decide to do any drag and drive type events, we can have a backseat person, even though it will be pretty uncomfortable for them with the roof bars and whatnot. They'll have to have a crooked head. So yeah, it's getting there. We have Jamboree this time in 2 weeks, being Friday. We would have just wrapped up our first day of testing, and we'll be getting ready obviously for qualifying on Saturday, then racing on Sunday. So yeah, 2 weeks time we'll already be in Queensland racing. That's about 850k north from here. Towing the car up, obviously, not driving it. So next few days we'll get the dash back in. Tomorrow we're finishing off the floor plates in the car, so the cage will be welded to the car properly. Tech inspection is next Friday. I only have a scatter shield to finish the lower half. Top half is already done because since the last video I've cut out transmission tunnel, replaced it with 6mm mild steel, which allows for the top half of the scatter shield because it's a manual car, as you can tell. Still stick shift, H pattern. So we needed a scatter shield. I've just got to build the lower half of that now. We have a chute for the car which we've run on the car before, so that'll go back on for tech and also for racing. I'm racing in a street car class which won't let me go under 10 flat, but at least now I can run down to 10 flat if the car's running well. Otherwise we're just going to detune it, because at the moment, last time we were out at the track, it actually ran the back half of the track quick enough to run into the 9s. But we ran the front half of the track slow and then wound the car up through the run, and that was purely for data. And we're also having a few issues with the car as well. So we're going to run street car class still, which is, I can run 10.0. I'll be able to run whatever mile an hour I want now though. I won't be limited to 140 because the car will be teched, and it looks like I'll license myself on the test day. I have a medical due on the Monday before we head off. We're heading off on the Thursday morning, driving through the day, 10-12 hours. We'll get there at the afternoon. But yeah, so the car's pretty much ready. One thing that wasn't shown in the last video is actually what the engine consists of. So here we have SR20 DET S14 bottom end. It runs forged pistons, aftermarket I-beam rods. Yeah, they're I-beam rods. Plasman brace in the bottom, like a girdle, to tie the main caps to the pan rail. ARP main studs, ARP head studs. It runs an MLS head gasket, SR20 VE head from a T30 X Trail, which is the same as a P12 as well. It's got the biggest cams Kelford make off the shelf for it. So they're 292 and 303, I think, is the duration at as advertised. I'd have to look at the cam sheet to tell you what they are at 50 thou, which is generally what people measure at. Normally they're around 160 something, 260 something. I mean, when they're not on high lobe, on low lobe. Runs 2000cc Bosch injectors, which are almost maxed out at the moment. It only runs a single fuel pump. We are upgrading that straight after this event. I have a new fuel hat which we're putting. I was going to put a fuel cell in the car. We're now going to run the standard tank under the floor. I have a new fuel hat from Tarks or EFI Solutions, I think they're called, and that's going to be a twin Walbro 525 pumps. At the moment it's got a single. Obviously I've a homemade intake, one that I've fabricated myself, with the burst panel, SFI proper burst panel, close man kit to get the billet bits. Yeah, so as you can see, I use a lot of Tarks parts on the car, which is EFI Solutions. Runs 50 shot of NOS, which I've only ever tried it on the street, haven't tried it at the track yet. We're probably not going to run it in Queensland because we don't need it to get the car up onto boost. I launch on 20 pound at 5,000 RPM, so that's not a problem. We're actually going to start up in the launch RPM, and I've got a slipper device from Magnus that we're putting on the car. We've ran it before, but I never got it set up right. We removed it. If we have time, it'll go on before this event. If not, it'll go on after. Yeah, so once we can start running that, we're going to start trying to run like 7,000 RPM, because I found out other people have ran much quicker 60 footers by up launch RPM and slipping the clutch. So I slip the clutch at about 5,000 RPM, 750 to 5,000, depending on how the track is. But people have been telling me slip it from 7 to 8,000, and they reckon I'll knock 0.2 off my 60 foot, which is 0.4 at the top end. And as it stands, that would run a 10 flat or much quicker, because we don't actually know what it'll run at the current power and power level because of the extra timing it's got, and we haven't had a clean pass since we've wound the engine up. Yeah, so I've gone for a low mount GTX 3076 Gen 2. At the moment we're at about 36 pound. Airbox with an air filter. It's only 2-inch intake pipe, 2 3/4, 2.75 inch intake on that side. It's a Bosch drive-by-wire throttle body. We're going to up everything to 3-inch soon, or at least 2.5 out of the turbo, and that we're looking at putting a G42 1450 on this. We may actually downsize that now. Been sort of discussing it. We may go to a G40 or a G35, go for something about around the 900 horsepower, because we do actually have a 2J block and head, and we're toying with the idea of putting a 2J and auto in the car to hunt for 7 seconds, because an SR is going to be hard to get in the 7s. Still a pipe dream. We haven't decided yet, so for now we're still chasing, obviously we're chasing 9s is the goal at the moment. We want to go 9 flat on the SR. If we can, we want to dip into the 8s with this combo, with manual and SR. I'd love to go 8s. That'll get me the outright S12 record. Full body record is 912 at 154, I think it is, which was Ben Diggles with an FJ RSX. The next one down from that is an 88 at 1 something, I don't know, I think it's 155, 160, somewhere around there. But they ran a V8 auto full tube car, carbon composite doors, composite front end, composite bonnet, no headlights, no nothing. It is purely a tube car. It's the only S12 things on it are the roof and rear quarters. Everything else is aftermarket fiberglass, carbon, Lexan. So that car doesn't really count in the scheme of S12 records, whereas this one will because it's still full body car. Yeah, so we'll give that a crack. That's the ultimate goal. I want to keep standard floors in the car as they are, as you can see. We still want to stay standard floor, standard suspension pickup points, even though we're going to a 9-inch when we get home from Queensland. Can't really see it, but 9 inches over there on the welding table. That will go on the car when we get home, and yeah, we'll go from there. We'll see what we can run H190 in 2 weeks, and then after that 9-inch goes in and we'll wind it up even more.